of the City of Fairview Park Board of Control to order. Director Costello, if you could please take the roll.
Absolutely. Councilmember Minnick?
Here.
Mayor Cooney?
Here.
Director of Law Riley?
Here.
Director of Finance Single?
Greg, you're muted.
Here. Sorry about that. Here.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. We have a few items on the agenda. The first being McKay Engineering.
Mayor, can I ask, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can we approve the minutes from
Yes.
our previous, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Thank you for doing that. We have minutes from the March 15th meeting that were distributed with the agenda. There's no amendments, changes. I would accept the motion to approve those minutes. Councilman Minnick, is there a second?
Second.
Director Single, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. So we'll move on to the agenda. Director Costello.
Thank you. The first item is a McKay Engineering item. We would like to ask McKay Engineering to look at erosion control measures for Coal Creek that moves stormwater from various neighborhoods to the Rocky River. And we'd like to have an assessment and assistance planning a project to eliminate some erosion that could cause either future issues for the park property or cause private property damages. So we're hoping to ask McKay Engineering to use a subcontractor for a narrative about the work, preliminary plans, and some details, so that we can move forward with our understanding of what this would entail. So the subcontractor costs are $13,990, which was on the agenda. And I was under the impression that the city would be paying that subcontract directly, which isn't necessarily the case. McKay Engineering asked for the ability to use them as a traditional subcontractor and pay them for their services. And so they'd, with your permission, I'd like to add the McKay Engineering fees of $4,800 to bring the total request for this project to $18,790.
Mary Kay, if I ask a question, who's the subcontractor? Do you know?
I believe it's a geotechnical company. It's I'm not sure it's been completely decided upon. I see Kim Kerber's here. Kim, have you selected that subcontractor?
It's Wallace Pancher Group.
Say that again for me, please.
Wallace Pancher.
Thank you.
Mayor Mary Kay, if this is going to be over 15,000, it's going to need a council ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah, so I originally brought it to city council in hopes, or excuse me, board of control in hopes that we could pay the subcontractor directly. Kim, is that something that is feasible, or would you rather just go to city council with the ordinance in its entirety?
It's probably easier to go to city council with the ordinance in its entirety, because if you go directly to Wallace Pancher, you didn't do any requests for qualifications or requests for proposals or any of that normal process for selecting consultants.
So we'll take this directly to city council for an ordinance. Thank you for your patience and hearing that out. I appreciate that. And thank you, Dr. Single.
I would make a motion just to remove it from the agenda tonight then.
Thank you.
There's a second,
Second.
Councilman Minnick. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Items removed.
Thank
Okay, the
you.
next item is Vance, Ohio, Director.
Yes, Advance Ohio is our contractor that we advertise various bids and documents. We wanted to get approval for our use for Advance Ohio throughout the year so that we could timely place legal ads in for bidding sewer, water line projects, park, public property, permanent improvements, and paving. So there's no one account. As you know, there are various accounts for advertising in the various funds. So we're requesting an approval to pay Advanced Ohio $8,100 in advertising costs from various accounts for these various improvements.
Any questions on with respect to this item? I take a motion to approve. Hearing no questions.
So moved.
Councilman Minnick, is there a second?
Second.
Director Riley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Items approved. We'll move on to item number 3.
This item is requesting approval for a construction assistant firm for the West 210 paving project. This is a requirement from ODOT, who is providing federal funds to the projects. So the city issued a request for qualifications, an RFQ. That generated 7 submissions. All submissions were reviewed, ranked, and evaluated. And the highest scoring firm was DLZ. That's the name of their firm. It doesn't stand for anything from what I'm aware of. But each evaluator scored them the highest. So it was unanimous. This company will do many things. They'll review the invoices that the paving contractor submits. They'll review their disadvantaged business enterprise goals. Those are required from the federal funding and ODOT. They'll review reports. They'll provide the inspector who will be on the project daily and will act as a liaison for the contractor, the city, and will advocate on behalf of our residents if necessary. So this search and subsequent selection was approved under Ordinance 2019. And as part of the RFQ process, once they were selected as the top scoring contractor, we asked them to submit their costs. We reviewed that. Costs were adjusted accordingly for the work that we thought was entailed, and the services priced are at $99,827. You know, this is a 120-day project with an inspector on site every day. There is a lot of reporting to do. They take minutes of the meetings that we will have. It's quite a lot of work, and these fees, after reviewing them with DLZ, were quite reasonable and appropriate.
Mary Kay, one question. Is any of this or all of this reimbursable?
So these costs, I believe, are coming from the funding that we're receiving from the county 50/50 and the federal funding. So yes, they can be paid from those, 80% from the federal, and a balance is getting covered by
Okay, thank you.
my funding.
Any other questions? Not hearing any, I would accept the motion to approve DLZ as the construction assistant on this project.
So made.
Director Single, is there a second?
Second.
Director Riley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items approved. We'll move on to the
Mayor-
next item.
Mayor, your screen is flashing black occasionally,
Okay.
flashing. I'm not sure if that's, Liz, can you check that out or?
Well, it didn't seem to be flashing on mine, so is anybody else seeing this flashing?
I
Yes,
did not.
yes.
I'm not.
Quite a bit of mine.
Okay. Well, sorry about that. We'll move on to the next item, paving for West 210 project.
Thank you. This item is for the actual paving and road repairs that will be done on West 210 from Lorraine to Mastic. The project was designed and engineered by our consulting engineers at McKay Engineering. We opened bids on March 22nd. And there were 8 bids. And this process was authorized under Ordinance 2020. The city has tasked McKay Engineering with reviewing those bids specifications, and all were in order, including being under the engineer's estimate, which was $1,313,000. And Crossroads Asphalt Recycling Inc.'s bid, the most responsive and lowest in this case, was in an amount not to exceed $949,787.16.
Any questions regarding this item? Director, I understand they've recently done some work for the city. Is that correct?
Crossroads has had contracts in Rocky River and Fairview Park for general paving, the street paving program.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this item?
I'll make a motion to approve if not.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Minnick, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item, Traffic Tech Inc., payment for road markings.
Yes, this company has been used for many years in the city for repainting crosswalks, stop bars, and arrows and lane lines at intersections that we consider major intersections: Lorraine Road, Brook Park, Westwood at West 220 and 210, and West 220 itself, Wooster, Story, and of course, West 210 from Lorraine north to Center Ridge. So at the shopping center and at Center Ridge. These intersections are busy intersections. The technology that this company has to install this paint is superior to what cities can carry in their equipment. So we request funds in an amount to equal $13,200 to be paid from the capital fund for road supplies.
Okay, any questions on this item?
Director, Mary Kay.
Yes. Mhm.
The question that was posed to some council people were, when it rains, you don't see the lines.
So in these traffic paints, there are reflective materials added to the paint so that it can be reflective. I will talk to our traffic technician to see if there's any adjustments that can be made in terms of rain. I know that water can kind of refract light a little bit. So maybe there is another technology in the crystal product that's added that reacts better with the rain. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll make sure I make that request.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? There being none, I would take a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Director Single, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item, Smith and Obi.
Yes, this is a request for a new HVAC unit for the police dispatch office. The unit had exhibited previous drops in efficiencies, and the coolant was recharged and refilled, but a new leak has developed close to components that exist in the unit that make further repair impossible. We'd like to request permission for a new unit to be put in place that's not only quieter, but it won't require any crane or anything. We can actually have it delivered up through the elevator. These costs that we're requesting would include removing chemicals safely from the old unit and disposal, modifications for condensate piping, and a new connection for the new unit. Costs are to be paid from the Permanent Improvement Fund for building improvements and are not to exceed $8,971.
Any questions regarding this item? I would just like to note, I know this is for the police dispatch area. I know that council's considering possibly moving the dispatch to North Olmsted. If that does occur, I know I'm talking to the chief. He has some plans for that space. So I think it would be something that would be needed going forward, no matter what was, going to be taking place in that space. So I just wanted to point that out. Any other comments or questions?
Mayor, as I sat in that office for many years, I move that we approve this expenditure.
Sorry you couldn't get it sooner there, Councilman. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Director Riley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Items approved. Finally, Fallsway Equipment Company.
Yes, this last item is for the fire department regarding testing and subsequent repairs for sensors for aerial alarms and doors that are necessary for the 2018 fire division pumper. Circuit boxes and sensors that control proper pad storage for the outrigger stabilizers need to be addressed. And there are also adjustments needed for the ladder out and step out switches. A review will include fluid level sensors being reviewed in a review of the fuel injection system. Costs will be paid for this through the general fund fire protection account, and the cost of the investigations and subsequent adjustments total $6,337.78.
Any questions regarding this item?
Director, Mary Kay, I'm surprised it's a fairly new piece of equipment.
Yes, I think that, and I don't know if the mayor can speak to this more in a clearer fashion, but from my understanding, it is something that is just specific to the design of this piece of equipment, that these pads move as the outriggers are placed and out for stabilization and retracted. And so they're just something that are unique and specific to this piece of equipment. Nothing in what I've read about what was being done is can be associated to the way we use it. It's just specific to how this piece of this equipment was designed. It's not being misused or anything to that measure. I don't know if the mayor had any additional information to add.
That's my understanding as well, and I know there was some discussion of warranty, on the warranty. There was other things that were, other work that, might have been in association with the fire in Rocky River that was covered under the warranty, but this was something that was not, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, I would accept a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Director Riley, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Minnick, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Items approved. Take a motion to adjourn at 6:51.
So moved.
Councilman Minnick, second.
Second.
All right, Director Riley, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you, Bill?
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Maureen. Everyone's here. We'll begin our caucus. We have all three standing committee reports this evening.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll start with those. All right, I'm going to, prior to starting the legislative agenda this evening, I'm going to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to move ordinance 2118 from second reading to passage without three reads. It was mistakenly added to the agenda under second reading. Okay, for first reading, Bill, you're good with you have an ordinance?
Yes, okay.
Bridget? You have an
Yes.
ordinance as well?
5.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Second read, Bill and Bridget also?
Yep.
Third reading, we have the, third reading without, passage without three readings, we have the resolution and the main part restroom that we moved to.
Yeah, 2118.
Right. Mayor, did you want to speak on the resolution 2103 at all?
Yes, thank you. So I've been contacted by Lisa Barno of Cuyahoga County Mayors and Managers. They had gotten, they've been monitoring some of the things going on in Congress and that there was potential for some earmarks. They reached out to all the mayors, and one of the resounding things they had heard back from the mayors was an interest in sewer projects and difficulty in getting those funded. They sent out an email, I think it was on March 24th, from Representative Gonzalez's office asking for for solicitation, submission of projects. I know Mary Kay and Monica spoke to representatives from his office to see what type of projects might be, might get approval. We spoke with Kim, Mary Kay and I, because in talking to the representative's office, sewers were something that seemed to be, might be helpful in getting funded. And they're also interested in shovel-ready projects. So back in early 2020, Mary Kay and I met with Kim and Michael McKay, and they had talked about this project. Kim felt it was something that they could engineer, in the time frame that is necessary, and also, get it going. It's talking to some residents over there. And I know it's been a problem. And so what we have proposed today is a letter of support, or I'm sorry, a resolution, in support of our submission. I know Monica, Kim, and Mary Kay are working on submitting it. The other representatives, I know in particular Representative Marcy Capter had a similar process where that things had to be submitted here early April for the staff to review, and then I suspect that once they review these submissions, they're going to determine which they want to take to the subcommittee. So there's no commitment of any funds at this point in time. We did speak with Greg about our ability to to contribute if necessary, and he felt that was something that we could do. And it came very quickly. It would seem like an innocent discussion with Lisa Barno about this, and then next thing you know, we got all this this information. So it came quickly. As it hopefully will be successful. I would appreciate your support of it, and if we are, obviously we'll have much more detailed information to share with you and the residents. So if Council President, if you wanted more detailed information, I believe Kim could provide that, but that's the general overlay. Again, it's a resolution. We're not asking for a commitment of any funds at this time. Hopefully we will be coming back to you for that, but the deadline is this Friday, which is why we're asking for one read.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I did have some questions, and you addressed them prior to the meeting, so.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for the mayor on this resolution?
I think it's very much needed, Mayor and Council President, and I support it 100%.
Yeah, I agree, Councilman. I know, again, when we met with Kim and Michael, this is something that was, was on their list of, on the wish list.
All right, thanks,
Yeah,
Mayor.
and there's I've had some communication with some residents on both of those streets over the past weekend and even today, and a lot of them expressed interest, and we're all in favor, in support of it. And I know there's a lot of people that have had some sewer issues, so I know that a lot of the people that are on the street are in favor. So I think it's great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, legislation for third reading. Councilwoman Waring, you have the contract with the county for juvenile diversion program.
Yep.
And then have final ordinances, or two ordinances as well. All set. All right, Ryan, do you have anything for roundtable?
No, not tonight.
William?
Nothing, Mike.
Maureen?
No, Mike, thank you.
Sarah?
Not this evening, thank you.
Bridget?
Not tonight, thank you.
Greg?
Nothing, thank you.
Liz, did you have anything you wanted to add before the meeting begins?
You're muted, Liz.
I received an email around 5 o'clock from a resident on Woodstock that they're asking that their comments be read into the record. So I'm just letting you guys know that that's a piece for the public session. So I just didn't get a chance to forward it because it came in after the time that they're supposed to come in, but it's pretty short, so.
Okay, thanks, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll start the regular meeting in just a moment.
1 minute.
All righty, the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Fairview Park for Monday, April the 5th, 2021 is now called to order. a moment of silent reflection. Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Simmerly,
Here.
Mr. Minnick,
Here.
Mrs. Adler,
Here.
Mr. Cobain,
Here.
Mrs. Waring,
Here.
Mrs. King,
Here.
Mr. Berger.
Present.
We will now have standing committee reports, beginning with the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning Development Committee. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. The Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee met on Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at 6:31 p.m. via telephone video conference via Zoom and live stream via city YouTube channel to discuss Ordinance 2117, repeal and replace plans and specifications for water main and repavement projects. Council Clerk Westbrook stated there may be amendments to the legislation. Motion to place Ordinance 2117 on second reading and subsequent third reading with amendments to be made prior to passage was approved 7-0. That completes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. The Local Government and Community Services, Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. Local Government and Community Services Committee met on Monday, March 22nd via teleconference beginning at 6:34 p.m. Present were members of council and the mayor. The committee discussed the issue of the city's response to systemic racism, focused on the continuing interviews for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition. Council interviewed 7 individuals and voted 7-0 to keep the issue of the city's response to systemic racism in committee. The Local Government and Community Services Committee concluded at 8:35 p.m.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, Finance, Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met via video conference on Monday, March 22nd at 8:35 p.m. In attendance were members of council, Mayor Cooney, Director Costello, Director Singal, Chief Shepherd, and members of the community. Ordinance 2118, authorizing RFP and agreement for Bain Park restrooms. This ordinance is for relocating and reconstruction of an ADA-compliant public restroom closer to the existing playground and pavilion. Director Costello is going to forward the presentation given to the Rec Commission so the council can see what is to be expected. This restroom will be ADA compliant but will not have a changing table in it. It is estimated that the project will be completed spring of 2022. A motion was made to have this ordinance on second read and emergency passage, and it passed with a vote of 7-0. Police Chief Shepherd joined us to discuss the next 2 ordinances and gave a brief overview of the plan to move the jail services and dispatch services to North Olmsted. This move will save Fairview Park money and allow more officers on the road. A target start date of July 1, 2021. Ordinance 2119, authorizing agreement with the City of North Olmsted for jail services, and Ordinance 2120, authorizing agreement with City of North Olmsted for police dispatch services. The chief and the mayor both spoke to how this is a good move for the city and answered a few questions about it. A motion was made to place both Ordinance 2119 and 2120 on second read and return to committee, and they both passed with a vote of 7-0. Ordinance 2114, repeal and replace the HVAC maintenance and service agreement. This ordinance is back in committee because it needed to be amended. Maintenance is spelled incorrectly in the title, and the section numbers need to be renumbered since there were 2 section 4s. A motion was made to have the amended Ordinance 2114 on third read and final passage, and it passed with a vote of 7-0. The issue of budget discussions. The 2021 budget was passed, but the issue of the budget will stay in committee because the directors will be providing quarterly updates. June 14, 2021 is the target date for the next update. It has been asked that the budget process be evaluated to make it less confusing and the budget hearings be moved from a Saturday in February. A discussion on the process will be in a committee meeting in fall. A motion was made to keep the issue of budgeting committee, and that passed with a vote of 7-0. The Finance Committee concluded at 9:05 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman King. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to move ordinance 2118 from second reading to passage without three reads.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend the agenda?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Carries. The agenda is amended. Okay, we will now have legislation for first reading. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I have a ordinance for first reading.
The clerk, please assign a number and read the title.
Ordinance 2121, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilman Minnick, co-sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing McKay Engineering and Surveying Company to prepare plans and specifications and provide construction administration and bidding services for water main replacements and pavement resurfacing on Cromwell Avenue, Parkwood Avenue, and Bain Park Drive, and repealing and replacing Ordinance 2049 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Okay, ordinance 2021 is placed on first reading and assigned to the local government and community services. I'm sorry, to the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I have 5 ordinances I'd like to place on first reading tonight.
Okay, clerk, please assign numbers and read the titles.
Ordinance 2122, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing purchase of mowers for the Fairview Park Service Department and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2123, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract extension with Browning Ferris Industries of Ohio Incorporated, a subsidiary of Republic Services Incorporated, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2124, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance accepting the 2021 Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council Energized Community Grant to provide financial assistance for energy efficient projects or energy infrastructure improvements, and authorizing the city administration to file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2125, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing city directors to participate in various cooperative purchasing programs and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2126, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development and the Director of Finance to sell obsolete vehicles from the city fleets through the Greater Cleveland Auto Auction and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you. Ordinances 2122, 2123, 2124, 2125, and 2126 are all placed on first reading and assigned to the Finance Committee. You now have set legislation for second reading. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to place ordinance 2117 up for second reading.
The clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 2117, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilman Minnick, co-sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing McKay Engineering and Surveying Company to prepare plans and specifications and provide construction administration and bidding services for water main replacements and pavement resurfacing on Cromwell Avenue, Parkwood Avenue, and Bain Park Drive, and repealing and replacing ordinance 2049 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ordinance 2117 is placed on second and subsequent third reading. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2119 and 2120 up for second read tonight.
Would the clerk please read the titles?
Ordinance 2119, requested by Mayor Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Waring and Councilman Minnick. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Fairview Park to enter into an agreement with the city of North Olmsted to provide jail services by the city of North Olmsted for the city of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2120, requested by Mayor Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Waring and Councilman Minnick. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Fairview Park to enter into an agreement with the city of North Olmsted to provide dispatch services by the city of North Olmsted for the city of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Okay, ordinances 2119 and 2120 are both placed on second reading and returned to the Finance Committee. It is now time for audience input on legislation that is up for passage. Clerk Westbrooks, have we received any requests to speak on legislation that is up for passage?
Yes, this email is for the piece that's on emergency passage. The email is from a Julie Schlepchiak. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Hello, my name is Julie and I live at 20764 Stanford Avenue. I am writing to show my support for the Ohio 16 community project funding efforts for the Woodstock Stanford Regional Sewer Remediation Environmental Improvement Project. Ooh, that's a mouthful. We have resided here since the spring of 2015. We moved to Fairview in search of better schools and overall better living conditions. Sewage maintenance is an essential for all neighborhoods. It is my understanding this project was initially set to take place 15 years ago. I can only imagine the wear that has occurred since the project was put on hold. Since we moved in, we have heard many stories from neighbors all up and down our street in regards to sewage issues. Just this past fall, we had problems of our own and heard many more stories as neighbors walked by and saw our yard torn up. My grandpa used to recite a common saying that has stuck with me and is now passed down to my family. Why put off for tomorrow what you can do today? This saying is important to practice in all aspects in order to be proactive versus reactive to potential disasters just waiting to happen. If you speak with my neighbors, they will tell you the sewage project is past the point of being proactive and is a necessity. I thank you for your time and ask that my email be read aloud at your council meeting. Thank you, Julie Schlepchiak.
Thanks, Liz.
Mhm.
Liz, I just received a text from the mayor, and evidently we read the wrong title for ordinance 2121 for the first reading.
For Bain Park restroom, hold on one moment.
I believe we read the water line title instead.
Okay, yes. Okay, so 2121, I'm sorry. Requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilman Minnick, co-sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance repealing and replacing Ordinance 2048 and authorizing McKay Engineering and Surveying Company to prepare plans and specifications and provide construction administration and procurement services for the relocation and reconstruction of a restroom at Bain Park and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane, and thank you, Clerk Westbrooks.
Thanks, Mayor. Good catch. Okay, ordinance 2021 is placed on first reading and assigned to the Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee. All right, back down to legislation on passage without three readings. Liz, were there any other communications? Or was that
No. No, that one, like I said, came in after 5, but I don't believe there were any. Let me just look real quick. No.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so legislation on passage without 3 reads. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I have a resolution to be placed before council for emergency passage.
okay, would the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Resolution 2103, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. A resolution supporting the community project funding efforts of the United States Congress to fund the Woodstock-Stanford Regional Sewer Remediation Environmental Impact Project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that the charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that the resolution be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call roll on the motion.
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Carries. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that Rule 53 requiring reference to committee be dispensed with and the resolution be placed on final passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call roll on the motion.
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Right, the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2103, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of resolution 2103?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
2103 passes. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place Ordinance 2118 before council for emergency passage.
clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 2118, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to request and accept proposals for the design, specifications, purchase, and delivery of materials for a restroom at Bain Park, and the mayor to enter into an agreement for said services and materials as determined by the Board of Control, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that the ordinance be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
so moved. Second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2118, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2118?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance 2118 passes. Okay, we will now have legislation for third and final reading. Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to place ordinance 2113 up for third reading and final passage.
Okay, will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2113, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman Waring. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Fairview Park to enter into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court in connection with a community diversion program to address juvenile misdemeanor and status offenders in the city of Fairview Park, establishing a community diversion program fund as a special revenue fund and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2113, is there any discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman Waring.
thank you. I'd like to make a motion to strike the language in the introduction section, which establishes a special revenue fund as agreed in committee.
So moved. Do I have a second? Is
Second.
there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2113 amended, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2113 amended?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance 2113 amended passes. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2114 up for third read and final passage.
Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 2114, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to solicit requests for proposal and the mayor to enter into a contract with the most qualified vendor for HVAC services and maintenance as approved by the Board of Control, and repealing and replacing ordinance 2022 amended and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2114, is there any discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman King.
I would like to make a motion to amend this ordinance, the spelling of maintenance in the introduction and renumbering of the section numbers as agreed to in committee.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. The ordinance is amended. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2114 amended, is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2114 amended?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance 2114 amended passes. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place Resolution 2101 up for third read and final passage.
Okay, will the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 2101, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. A resolution authorizing participation in the 2021 ODOT winter contract for road salt and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Prior to call for passage of Resolution 2101, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call a roll for passage of Resolution 2101?
Mr. Simmerly,
yes,
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
yes,
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
yes,
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Resolution 2101 passes. That'll conclude our legislative agenda for this evening. We'll now have reports and communications from the mayor and his directors. Mayor Cooney, if you're ready.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. Good evening, everybody. I know earlier this afternoon that Governor DeWine advised that he was going to be streamlining, I guess, his health orders. I have not had a chance to see his press conference or review anything that may have been issued today. I will be on the lookout for that. And once I've had an opportunity to review that, we'll provide an update to everybody about how it may impact our Memorial Day event at City Hall, the parade, the event at the cemetery, as well as Summerfest and other activities and building openings. I'd like to remind everybody that on Tuesday, May 4th of this year, we're going to have two issues on the ballot, Issue 2 and Issue 3. Issue 2 is a levy with fire levy, and Issue 3 is an income tax renewal. They are both renewals. Is not an increase associated with either of those. Issue 2 provides funding for the fire department, and it was first passed in 1975. This levy funds approximately 12% of the fire department's budget. Per this ordinance, it has to be renewed every 5 years. Over the last 12 years, run volumes have increased 40%, requiring additional funds for the Fairview Park Fire Department. As I mentioned, this levy came into effect in 1975, and the cost of the levy has remained exactly the same since that date. For approximately every $100,000 of value of your home, the resident would be taxed $25. Again, it's not a tax increase, it's just a renewal. We get a lot of phone calls from individuals about the taxes, the real property taxes that they pay here in Fairview Park, and 11.7 cents of those dollars comes to the city. The rest of that money goes to the Fairview Park City Schools, to the Metro Parks, and the library and other entities. So we receive less than 12 cents on every dollar, and so that applies to the levy for the fire department. With respect to Issue 3, which relates to the street repair program, income tax renewal, this income tax is the primary source for revenue for our street repairs. This program in its current form was, per the ordinance, was enacted in 2005. We've had the street repair program for 32 years. This income tax renewal is required every 8 years. It's been passed 2005 and in 2013. Again, it's been unchanged since its origination in 2005, and these funds go to a dedicated fund that's used for maintenance and repair of streets. So Those, again, items, issues, I'm sorry, are on the May 4th ballot. If you or if anybody has any additional questions regarding those, we'd be happy to address those for you. Speaking of the fire department, I'm happy to report that 32 individuals signed up for next week's entrance exam, and we wish them all good luck on that exam next Monday. We've had a number of inquiries from residents and some council members about incidents, that might involve police, fire department, intervention, if you will. And I would like to encourage people, if they feel that there's an infraction that's going on, that you either direct them to the police department or the fire department at the time. A lot of times these violations are time sensitive, and that requires an observation by a police officer or a firefighter to determine whether there's been an infraction. And I think sometimes when, and I understand people, they feel they'd be considered a bother to either departments, but that's what they're there for. These things, while they may seem minor at the time, over a period of time, does raise concern. So it's important that they report it to the proper department so they can respond and assess the situation. And a lot of times, I think when the police or the fire department is there, they can educate either the offending party or the alleged offending party about what they need to do, or they can explain to the other resident, that there isn't a violation and what needs to be addressed going forward. The police and the fire department obviously prioritize their calls. If they don't respond, it's likely because they have other things that they're dealing with. But if you do call the police or the fire department, there's a record, and in the future, when they respond, they can see that this has been an issue, and that might need to be addressed going forward. So that's the police and fire department, or that's what they're there for. If you feel it's something that needs their attention, you can call yourself or direct somebody to call them. The building department will be doing some property maintenance inspections on West 210th, south of Lorraine. I know earlier today, the Board of Control, the contractor for that project was approved. And so there'll be a lot of activity there by the city. And we appreciate, people's attention to anything that might be pointed out by the building department. Again, if they have questions about something they may receive, please reach out to the building department. They'll be happy to work with them and explain what the issues might be. The Board of Zoning Appeals will have 2 items on its docket next Monday, and the Planning and Design Commission will have 6 items on its docket on Wednesday, April 21st. A lot of exciting things with planning and design. I'd like to thank Councilwoman King for bringing to us a public art project from the schools. We had a chance to meet with one of the teachers, Ryan Graff, from the schools, and the students had some really neat ideas for Vulcan Park. Planning and Design is going to take a look at that as it is under their jurisdiction, as well as Parks and Rec Commission. But we're excited to work with them and excited to show them the wheels of government, how you need to go through all the bureaucracy of commissions before you can get anything going. But I'd like to thank the students, the really creative ideas, and I think people will enjoy them. We also have some items with Hope Yoga, which is near the Giant Eagle, 19050 Lorraine. There's a new doctor's office going in there. 22610 Lorraine, which is a Thai restaurant, the former Fairview Park Beauty Academy. And then also Sauce Pizza has an item on the docket. So a lot of exciting activity, a lot of it also on Lorraine Road, which we're happy to see these investments in the community. With the nice weather, you're going to see a lot more activity with the service department on the roads and in the streets, in the parks, sewers. I would just ask people to be patient and observant and careful when they see our personnel working in the street. In addition to our personnel, there are going to be a lot of construction projects in the city in the upcoming months. And we just ask again that people be careful with these crews as they work to make improvements throughout our city. So with respect to the Senior Center, on April 22nd, Jeff Varga will be having a parking lot concert. Jeff played for us at the Bain Park Gazebo last fall. It's a beautiful, beautiful day, beautiful event. He's coming back. He reached out to us. He got a grant from the local musicians union, and we'll be paying for his services, and he wanted to perform for us. So we appreciate Jeff's thinking of us. We appreciate the musicians union and their generosity. And I'm sure it'll be a great time. We're going to have lunch from O'Neill. And if people are interested in joining that event, please call the Senior Center. I know Director Brandos is working on other outdoor activities, and in light of current conditions, we're not opening the Senior Center in the near future. So I would encourage people to reach out to the Senior Center and see if they're interested in some of these items, parking lot bingo, and maybe some other events. And lastly, the Rec Department has Safety Town registrations open, as well as baseball, softball registrations, and we encourage people to look into that and sign up at your earliest convenience. Thank you, Council President Kilbane, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor Cooney. Public Service and Development Director Costello.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. As the mayor had mentioned, crews are going to be out repairing roads, and Dominion's crews are going to be, in fact, they were out this week, beginning this week, complete the final repairs for the road, sidewalks, and curbs on 220. So anticipate delays. If you can avoid the area, please do so. Thank you so much for passage tonight of the SALT. It's timely for having a snowstorm last week, but hopefully we're done with all of that, and we'll be able to submit that resolution and stay on the cooperative purchasing program. And also in considering passage of the legislation for cooperative purchasing, it is nice to participate in the ODOT, in the state purchasing program. So I appreciate your time and effort. We also appreciate your support of the resolution for the community project funding. And if Council Clerk Westbrooks could forward the mayor and myself the email that she received from our constituents, that would go a long way. Community support is highlighted often in what has been sent to us in this regard. So I really appreciate that. And this evening, I will send the Bain Park PowerPoint that I'll be bringing to the Parks and Rec Commission on their April 21st meeting. So look in your emails for that. And that concludes my report. Thank you again.
Staying on top of all these cost-saving programs and bring them to council. Finance Director Single.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to you and all members of council. This one item tonight, the 2020 fiscal office is continuing. As always, once we get more information, we will continue to keep council abreast of our progress. And that concludes my report tonight. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Director. Law Director Riley.
Thank you, Council President. I have nothing this evening.
Thank you, Director. City Engineer Kerber.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. The Board of Control tonight awarded the contract for West 210th Street to Crossroads Asphalt and also approved the construction administration contract with DLZ. So that project will begin ramping up here shortly with a pre-construction meeting that DLZ will coordinate with ODOT and the contractor. And we continue to work on the water line project and the street repair program for this year. That is all I have to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Kerber. It's now our public session. Clerk Westbrooks, have we been contacted by anyone wishing to address council and the administration this evening?
No.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll have miscellaneous business and comments from members of council. Councilman Simmerly.
Yes, Council President, just one thing tonight. Coffin Bay neighborhood, again, this summer we'll be having weekly food trucks on Thursdays. So thanks again to Amy Kovach for her hard work in organizing those for all the neighbors in the area. So thanks again. And that's all I have tonight.
Right at the corner of Henry and Coffinberry, right?
Yep, you got it.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I have a very lengthy Board of Control report. The Board of Control met this evening at 6:30 via Zoom. Issue 1, McKay Engineering will provide the city with erosion measures for Coal Creek, which moves stormwater from various neighborhoods to the Rocky River. Will assist in assessment and planning of a project to eliminate erosion that may cause future issues for park property and private property. A narrative, preliminary plans, and details with sketch renderings will be provided. Costs for these services are not to exceed $13,990. During the discussion, Director Costello stated a subcontractor would have to be hired in addition to the McKay Engineering. The subcontractor would be hired for $4,800, making a total of $18,790. Finance Director Single stated this issue should be in an ordinance form. A motion to remove this issue from the agenda was approved 5-0. Issue 2, Advance Ohio. City requests pre-approval for advertising costs that would be necessary for public bidding projects for sewer, water line projects, parks, public property, permanent improvement, and paving. To be used as necessary for legal ads placed in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, for public bidding, request for proposals as necessary. Requesting approval for $8,100. A motion to pay the $8,100 in advertising costs from various accounts. Capital improvements was approved 5-0. Issue 3, award required construction assistance firm to the West 210th Street paving project. The city conducted an ODOT required RFQ, request for qualifications, process that generated 7 submissions. All submissions were ranked and evaluated by 2 consulting engineers, the community planner, and the Director of Public Service and Development. DLZ Company, Architecture, Engineering, Planning, Surveying, Construction Services, was scored the highest by each evaluator. This company will test materials, review invoices, review DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise goals, review reports provided, and inspector to be on site during working hours for 120 days of the project and provide any audit services necessary for ADA and post-project. This was authorized under Ordinance 2019. Cost for services is not to exceed $99,827. Motion to pay the $99,827 from Fund 811, which is the Capital Projects Fund, was approved 5-0. Issue 4, the paving of West 210th Street from Lorraine Road to Mastic Road. The project was designed and engineered by consulting engineers at McKay Engineering. The 8 bids were opened on March 22nd. This was authorized under Ordinance 2020. Crossroads Asphalt Recycling Incorporated was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder in the amount of $940,000. $1,497,787.16. The engineer's estimate was $1,313,000. A motion to award the contract to Crossroads Asphalt Recycling Incorporated in the amount of $949,787.16 from Fund 811, which is the Capital Projects Fund, was approved 5-0. Issue 5, Traffic payment for road markings, repainting crosswalks, stop bars, channel lines, arrows, and lane lines. Intersections include Lorraine Road, Brook Park, Westwood, West 220, Worcester, Story, and West 210th Street from Lorraine to Center Ridge. Cost of $13,200. A question was asked reference to the lane markings when it's wet outside or it's raining and the lanes cannot be observed, and Director Costello is going to check. A motion to pay Traffic Incorporated $13,200 from Fund 811, the Capital Projects Fund, was approved 5-0. Issue 6, Smith & Obie, a new HVAC unit for Police Dispatch Office. The unit has previous coolant recharge and refill efforts. A new leak has developed close to components that make sustainable repairs impossible. A new mini split unit will be put in place that is quieter and does not require a crane for installation of a new unit. Costs include removing chemicals safely from the old unit and disposal. Costs are included modifications for condensate piping and a new connection to a new condensing unit. Costs not to exceed $8,971. A motion to pay Smith & Obie $8,971 for a new HVAC from Fund 260, the Permanent Improvement Fund, was approved 5-0. Issue 7, Fallsway Equipment Company. Testing and subsequent repairs to sensors for aerial alarms and doors are necessary for the 2018 Fire Division pumper. The circuit boxes and sensors that control proper pad storage for the outrigger stabilizers will be addressed. Adjustments are needed for the ladder out and step up switches. Review includes fluid level sensors and fluid injection systems, and the cost for investigations and subsequent adjustments is $6,337.78. A motion to pay Fallsway Equipment Company $6,337.78 from the fire protection account in the general fund was approved 5-0. This completes my report. Thank you.
For the very detailed Board of Control report, Councilman Minnick. Councilwoman Adler.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. First of all, I want to thank Council Clerk Westbrooks for setting up our closed caption at the request of one of our Fairview Park citizens. It definitely helps to follow along with the meeting, you know, and we want to do all that we can to keep our residents who are interested informed. And on the occasional slip ups in the translation, it has provided me a little amusement with some of the names. So thank you, Council Clerk Westbrooks, for that. And I'm sure residents appreciate it as well. I'd also like to commend our building department. I've had to deal with them recently with a few issues over in the Valley Forge neighborhood. And Walt Maynard in particular has been incredibly attentive and communicative to both me and the residents. So I want to, you know, shout out his praises. And then lastly, I did want to ask, I know that Director Costello, you were seeing if there was any way a changing table could be squeezed into the new bathroom at Bain. Was that anything that could be done?
We're still going to work on it. We're going to make it a part of our RFP that you've approved. So we're going to try to see if through this process we can make it happen.
Okay, I know you were addressing that and I appreciate the update. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And,
thank you.
And that, and lastly, go Gonzaga. Okay, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to remind Council that we will be discussing the appointments to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition during our April 12th committee meeting. And I really wanted to take a moment to thank the more than 20 applicants to this coalition. We spent three committee meetings, nearly 10 hours, interviewing each of these applicants, and truthfully, we are all better for the conversations that we had. Everyone is approaching this coalition from a different standpoint, and it led to some really rich discussion. I'm so proud to have had this level of engagement here in our community. It truly is reflective of the volunteering and caring nature of our residents. So I just wanted to thank everyone who has been involved in this process. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Waring, and again, thank you for the great job you did chairing this committee during these interviews and organizing the interviews and just the task force itself.
Thank you.
We appreciate you as well. Councilwoman King.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Berger.
Yeah, I just wanted to send a thank you to all the residents that reached out about the potential sewer project with the Stanford and Woodstock. I actually had a lot of communication. We spoke with probably close to a dozen residents. And so I just wanted to thank them and thank everyone on council that we were able to put that resolution together. And hopefully we can secure funding because that project would definitely be greatly appreciated. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Berger, were these residents informed about this resolution?
I'm not sure.
Reached out to you?
I definitely. Pardon?
Did you say 10 residents reached out to you about this project?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I talked to and communicated with at least 10. I got emails from some and I got phone calls from some. So yeah, no, having input from them was definitely appreciated. So.
Interesting. All right, thank you. Okay, I just want to wish everyone, hope everyone had a good Easter and it looks like spring is upon us. So get out there and enjoy the weather. There being nothing further to come before this council this evening, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yeah.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Council's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.